This one time, my friend told me that her mom was adopted, and then I convinced her that her grandma probably kidnapped her mom as a baby, because I knew her grandma, and there was no way in hell anybody gave Winifred a baby. That woman had been a raging alcoholic since she was like 12. She worked at a liquor store her entire life, and she lived in a rundown one-bedroom trailer. Absolutely nobody stepped foot in that trailer, met Winnie, and was like, yes, you seem like the perfect candidate for adoption. You're exactly who I want to raise my baby. Not even in the 60s did that happen, okay? And so then I got her on board with my whole conspiracy, and we went and started researching babies that had been kidnapped or went missing in the area that her mom was born during that time frame, and we found one that fit pretty well. And so she decided to do an ancestry DNA test to see if she matched any of that baby's family. And while we were waiting for the results to come back, we ended up down this other rabbit hole of that area in Alaska. There's this whole group of moms who had given birth and then been told that their babies died, and they were never given any proof. They never got to see their baby, and so they were convinced that the hospital was doing this huge scandal where they were selling babies, right? And we're like, what if your mom was one of these babies? But then the DNA test comes back and she matches her mom's biological father. And this guy messages her instantly. Literally, the day the DNA match hits, he sends her a message and is like, hey, I took every DNA test years ago, hoping to one day be able to connect with the baby that I gave up for adoption. And I'm like, who the heck gave Winnie this freaking baby? And it turns out it was some crazy church scandal. So him and his high school sweetheart got pregnant young, and their families were super religious and did not want anybody to know about this because they were very against teenage pregnancies, very against premarital stuff. And so the families arranged for the baby to go to a well-off conservative family within the church, and they were going to raise the baby. And then when the biological parents were of age, they were supposed to get that information to be able to contact the baby if they wanted to. Biological parents end up getting married and having kids of their own, and then wanting to contact the baby they gave up for adoption. The records don't exist because the church did not do what they said they were going to do. Instead, they sold the baby to Winnie for $2,000. So all this time, he thought that his baby was being raised in some conservative, well-off Christian family, but instead, she was raised by Winnie the alcoholic.
Story time on how my grandma essayed me at the age of 9. Yes, I said my grandma. My mom's mom. And she was my best friend, y'all. My best friend. I love this lady down. Taught me how to sing. Teach me how to play the piano. We used to color together. Taught me how to do all type of shit. Because my mom was on drugs when I was a kid. So I was always at my granny house. But let's get into the story. It's not a very long story, but we're going to get into it real quick. So when I was 9, I used to live with my grandma. And sometimes I used to sleep with her in her room, and sometimes I used to sleep in the living room on the couch. But when I used to sleep with her, she used to always be like, mind you, my grandpa lived there too. She used to be like, oh, don't sleep with your legs up like that. I don't know why the fuck she used to say that, but she used to tell me, like, don't sleep with your legs up like that. Stop sleeping with your legs up. Just random. Don't sleep on your back. Don't sleep on your stomach. So this one particular night, I had slept with her, and we used to sleep in her room on the floor. So we sleep or whatever, and like I just wake up because I feel something. And I wake up and I'm just like, I'm sitting there and she's down there. I don't know how to explain it, but she's down there performing oral, okay, on me. Sorry about the tongue click. I know what the fuck to say. I don't know how to say this shit. I'm trying to keep it clean. But she was, performing that on me. So when I get up, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck. I don't even know what the fuck I said, if I said anything. I just get up. And she like, I'm sorry, whatever. She go get a knife out the kitchen, and she acting like she about to kill. She acting like she about to off herself. And then she got these pills, but now that I'm older, those were fucking vitamins, bitch. That was not gonna kill you, but she got these pills, and she was acting like she was about to take a whole bunch of them. She was like, don't tell nobody. I'm sorry. And I never told nobody. And I just felt like my mom should have knew, because okay, I was just saying, I feel like my mom should have knew, because like I feel like me as a mother, if my child is always happy to go with this person and always ready to go be around this person and would be with this person all the time, to not want to go over there tripping the fuck out, to go over there or crying, saying that you don't want to go over there, like I would have knew something was wrong. But my mom was not in her right mind, so like, And FYI, my mom have a great crazy ass relationship now. So yeah, but anywho, I didn't tell nobody until I turned 14. And when I turned 14, I think, no, I wasn't that old. I was like 12 or something like that, maybe. And I don't remember. I was between 12 and 14 when she had passed away. And I had told my auntie, like one of my closest aunties, like what she did to me, and she didn't believe me. And then she was like, no, she wouldn't do that. No, she's not here to defend herself. So like, you know, and that just crushed me, because it's just like, I held this in for all this time. And now I chose you to be the person that I was going to tell this to. And you just shut me out and didn't give a fuck. You just told me it didn't happen. All I gotta say, y'all, be careful who you leave your kids with, because it be the closest people to you. It be the close people to you that do stuff to your kids. Okay? Be careful. That's all I'm saying, is be careful and just watch out and ask your kids questions and teach them that good touch, bad touch shit, because kids need to know. And you need to make it a safe space for your child to feel safe to tell you something as soon as it happens.
That's Brie, and she's telling us how she kicked her bridesmaid out of her wedding. Now, they've been friends for quite some time. They actually met about 7 years ago, and the friend's name is actually Chu, but we later find out her name is Chloe, and we're actually going to go by Chloe. So back in the late 2010s, Chloe and Brie were actually living together. It was Brie's place. Chloe is actually from a very wealthy family in the UK. So even though Brie allowed it, she did find it weird that she was living in her place rent-free, utilities-free. So while Chloe and Brianna were living together, Chloe was a very heavy smoker, to the point that one day she ran to the kitchen and was coughing up blood. And so obviously Brianna was very concerned. And when she asked her about it, Chloe's like, oh, this must be from the chemotherapy that I'm doing. And so Brie's like, chemo? Okay. She's like, yeah, I have breast cancer, but when I go back to the UK, I'm going to get it all sorted out. Brianna's very confused, because she's like, we go clubbing all the time. We go and we drink and we smoke. I'm so confused how you're going through chemo right now, and you also apparently have breast cancer. And so in January of 2025, Chloe ends up sitting down Brianna. She was clearly distraught. She was crying, and she tells Brianna, oh my God, I have to tell you, I have breast cancer. And Brianna's looking at her like, oh my God, yeah. Like, you know, playing along, because Brianna's looking at her like, you already told me that, right? And so Chloe like goes on to be like, yeah, I have breast cancer, as if it's new information to Brianna. Same thing as before. Chloe's like, yeah, I just need to go back to the UK and I just need to get more treatment. Brianna's like, I totally support you. No problem at all. Come to find out, Chloe actually got kicked out of her school because of not paying tuition. Brianna was the one that actually helped her land another job in Japan. All Chloe kept saying is like, how could they charge me? My mother just passed away. It was true. Last year, her mother did pass away. And Brianna's like, I fear this is a business. And so because Chloe got kicked out of the school, her student visa was going to expire in Japan. So she quickly needed to go find a job so that she'd be able to stay. That's what Brianna helped her do. When you work for a school in Japan, apparently you have to get a health examination. When Chloe went to go get her examination, she ended up posting her x-rays on Instagram, her own volition, and the x-rays were clear. Now, Brianna understands that you have to get mammograms and MRIs to be able to see if you have breast cancer, but she was just so confused how the x-ray was just like completely clear for her chest. So it's Brianna, her husband, a few other friends. They all end up deciding to do an intervention for Chloe. Now, they had several reasons to do the intervention, but the main one actually was financial reasons. And Brianna's husband was involved because he also had lent money to Chloe and never got it back. But at the core of the intervention, they wanted to address, does Chloe have cancer? And so when they started, they're all in a circle and she's going around the bush, not really giving them a straightforward answer. So Brianna's husband, straightforward, is like, hey, do you have cancer? And this is when she starts backtracking. Chloe now claims that she actually had benign tumors and that when she goes back to the UK, she's going to get it all sorted out. Mind you, one of the people in the interventions is Chloe's best friend, right? And so the best friend's looking at her like, you never told me that. And Chloe's like, yes, I did. And they start getting into a heated back and forth about whether or not Chloe disclosed the benign tumor situation. Brianna just thought it was so weird that, Chloe shares every aspect of her life, personal or not, but when it came to this one thing, she was being very evasive and vague. So like I said, the other reason that they held the intervention was because of financial reasons. Now, Chloe was always broke, apparently. She never had money. She was always borrowing money, but the worst part about it all was that she never paid people back. It got so bad at a point that Brianna even stopped talking to Chloe for about a year. Brianna actually just recently found out that Chloe was going around and telling people that she was a bad friend, and Brianna's like, I'm not a bad friend. I was setting a boundary. I was just tired of loaning money to somebody that wasn't going to pay me back. So when they became friends again, Brianna set a hard boundary. I'm not letting you borrow any money. And at first, Chloe respected it, but sooner or later, she started asking to borrow money again. And just like every other time, Brianna had to go chasing down Chloe to get her money back. Now, her husband had loaned money to Chloe, and she told him, I'm going to give this money back in 1 week. It took her over 2 months to pay back Brianna's husband. So recently, Brianna had a friend named Mia staying with her from July to August, and on the last night that Mia was out there, they decided to go out to a karaoke bar, and so they ended up inviting everybody, and all of a sudden, Chloe ends up calling Brianna and being like, hey girl, I left my wallet at work, I work at a school, so I'm not going to have access to the school until Monday, can I borrow X amount of money? Brianna's like, yeah, sure, I got you, no problem. So they pull up to the karaoke night, they have a great night. As they're getting ready to go and leave, Mia and Brianna are getting into the car. Chloe looks at Brianna and she's like, oh, how much cash do you have left? And basically Brianna's like, I have like 50 American dollars, however much that, translates to yen. Chloe's just staring at her. And Brianna's like, no, bro, I already let you borrow money today. I'm gone. She hops into the taxi and she leaves. So now Mia has left. The next day, Brianna had plans with other friends, right? So she goes to meet up with them. All of a sudden, Chloe shows up and she obviously had to take a train there. She's buying her food. She's buying her drinks. And Brianna's just so confused. I thought you forgot your wallet. I thought you didn't have any money. How are you out and about right now? And so this just spoke to the same pattern that whenever she didn't want to pay for something, she would just lie and tell people, oh, I forgot my wallet. This wasn't the first time that she did something like that. So Monday rolls around and Brianna's like, hey, Chloe, where's my money? Chloe doesn't answer. She hits her up again on Tuesday. She's like, where's my money? And so then Chloe's like, oh, can you meet me at this random bar at 9 p.m.? I'll give you the money then. And Brianna's like, no, I'm going to be in bed at that time. And also, why would I pay money to travel 30 minutes away to get my money? No, I'm not going to do that. Brianna is like, the bar that she's at is this bar that her 57-year-old boyfriend bartends at. Apparently, she has like a $700 tab at that bar. And the boyfriend's just letting her take advantage of him. And so Brianna's like, I'm not going to meet you there. But they had plans to go to a K-Tronada concert that Friday. And so Chloe's like, I'll give it to you on that day. Friday rolls around and Brianna starts talking about, oh, I'm really not feeling well. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. And Brianna's just like, even when your mom passed away, you were still out drinking and smoking and having a blast. So I don't understand what you're talking about right now. What Brianna understood was that they all bought $80 tickets to go to K-Tronada, and that was the plans for the night. Come to find out, Chloe tells her like, oh, actually, I had a friend from the bar that was supposed to get me in for free, and they're not going anymore, so I'm not going anymore. Brianna's like, what? They're at the concert now, and Chloe's best friend's boyfriend walks up and he's like, hey, where's Chloe? You guys are like always together. And when Brianna checked her locations, that girl was at the same bar that her boyfriend bartends at. And so she's like, obviously this girl's not paying me back and not showing up to the concert either. When Brianna told the best friend's boyfriend that, he's like, what? I DJ at this place and I can't even get in for free. What is she talking about? So again, just highlighting how Chloe, she just comes up with these tall tales out of nowhere. So moving forward, Brianna tells us how apparently Chloe was supposed to have this large inheritance from her mother. Like she was supposed to become an instant millionaire. So Chloe tells her like, hey, I'm going to the UK to handle everything. She comes back. She's like, everything is handled. I will have to go back to the UK eventually and handle some of my mom's businesses. She was telling everybody that her mom had just like all these businesses, right? So Brianna's like, let me look into that now, right? They have fell out at this point. So she goes on the internet, come to find out, Chloe's mom did in fact have several businesses, but they all were sold and liquidated and left the mother in debt well before the mother was even dead. There's no money. There's actually mountains and mountains of debt. Apparently, the mother actually went broke trying to support Chloe's lifestyle in Japan. When she was looking through the paperwork, she ended up seeing another name named Barbara, and she looks up that name. She's like, who's this person? They were listed as like a business investor partner. The minute Brianna puts this woman's name into the internet, a bunch of articles pop up about her being into investment fraud, and so at this point, Brianna's jaw's on the ground. Brianna also ended up finding out that Chloe is actually being sued in the UK because of her mother's debt, but that didn't make sense to Brianna because she was just like, why would your mother's debts transfer over to you? Unless they got like a co-loan together. So when she looked into the debt, she ended up finding out that it was also because Chloe never paid for the funeral. She, like we said, never paid for her tuition. A friend of Chloe's actually gave her the money that she needed to pay for her tuition so she wouldn't be expelled, and she didn't use the money for that, which is wild to Brie because she worked so hard to get a meeting with Chloe, with her dean, so that she can discuss and see if there's any possibilities for Chloe to stay in the school. And the dean pretty much said there's only one solution: the tuition has to be paid. So at this point, Brianna is realizing there's no money. There hasn't been money coming in for years. She's getting upset that Chloe is staying with another friend and using her late mother's credit cards to order Uber Eats. And at the same time, Chloe's still borrowing money, even though Brianna helped her getting a full-time job as a teacher. Brianna's like, granted, teachers don't make the most in Japan. However, it was money. Chloe actually never opened a Japanese bank account in that country, and so she was using a younger girl's account to have her work checks deposited. So Brianna ends up hitting up that friend and being like, hey, I know this is weird, but like, how much are, Chloe's checks that she's been getting deposited? She was supposed to get over like 200,000 yen a month. She was only making like 108,000 yen a month, which is like half of her salary. And when she was asked about it, she's like, oh, I barely make it to work. I call out. I'm hungover. I've even showed up to work drunk before. And so Brianna's just like, I don't understand what's wrong with this girl. Mind you, before Brianna found out how much money the girl was making, she was telling her, oh, I'm making 300,000 yen. And everybody's looking at her like, no teacher gets paid that much. They knew she was lying, just not how much. It was also wild because it's like, you're living rent free, you don't pay utilities, you actually lost your place because you didn't pay your rent, and the utilities weren't even in your name. And then to make matters worse, Chloe was bringing strange men to that friend's house she was staying with, and the friend didn't even know. Brianna had to tell her, like, did you know she's bringing men to your house? And that wasn't even the worst part. Brianna tells her, Chloe has a stalker. She let the stalker into your house. I don't even understand that logic at all. I think this part was really hard for Brianna because she herself had OD'd 2 times trying to unalive herself. So when she got a message from Chloe, one of those like a year ago photos, like the memories that Instagram used to do, she's like, what about this picture? And Chloe's like, don't you remember? This was my suicide attempt. And Brianna's looking at her like, what? She's like, yeah, don't you remember when I didn't answer my phone and I turned off my locations and you and your husband came to my house to make sure I was okay? And Brianna's looking at her like, that wasn't a suicide attempt. And Chloe's like, yeah, but you had to make sure I was okay. And so Brianna at this point is just so confused. So she ends up going to another friend. And being like, hey, did Brianna have a suicide attempt last year? And the friend's like, yeah, they said that you just like randomly showed up to her house and you helped her. And Brianna's like, what? You're lying. Brianna was shocked to find out that Chloe, who was claiming to be full Japanese, actually had a fully black father. And her whole heritage, she was like, my family, they're all Vietnamese, and that her dad was like Malaysian from the Caribbeans, however. And so he was like mixed. But come to find out, the father was actually fully black. This was like shocking to Brianna because she believed her. You told me you were mixed. I believed you. I'm not going to sit here and question your genes, Brianna's also realizing this kind of makes sense because when she met Chloe's sibling, they looked fully black. So then Brianna's like, oh my God, does Chloe's wife know? Because apparently when Chloe went back to the UK, she got married to a woman. And the friend is like, what wife? What marriage? And Brianna says the name of the wife. And the childhood friend of Chloe's that she's talking to is like, who? That's my cousin. That's not Chloe's wife. They're just friends. And then she goes on to tell her like, Chu is not Chloe's name. Chu is her YouTube persona that she created. Chloe's her real name. And this made Brianna think about a time where she did introduce Chloe to another Vietnamese friend and was like, hey, this is my friend Chu. The Vietnamese friend looked at Brie and said, Vietnamese Chu is a surname. It's a last name. It's not a first name. At the time, Brianna kind of just like waved it off because she was like, well, my friend told me that's her name. So now Brianna ends up finding out that that girl who Chloe introduced as her younger sister was actually just a friend. When Brianna was telling another friend in Japan about everything and being like, oh my God, yeah, that girl is not Chloe's sister, the friend is like, oh, what about her brother, Rafi? And Brianna's like, brother? No, she only has sisters. And the friend's like, no, she has a brother. She sends over Rafi's Instagram to Brianna. And so Brianna messages him and was like, da 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 da. That guy responds back and he's like, yeah, I'm not her brother. I'm just a friend. All of these are kind of happening in real time. Like sometimes she's finding out things and coming on and giving like a 1-minute story and being like, you guys, I just found out that's not her real name. I just found out she's not fully Vietnamese. So at this point, Chloe has reached out to Brianna and been like, hey girl, can you please take down your TikToks? It's affecting my mental health. Like it's affecting my job, all of this. And Brianna made it really simple. She said, prove to me that you have cancer and I'll take them down. And so now Chloe's giving her the runaround like, oh, I can't access my, healthcare stuff in the UK. And so Brianna's like, what about your stuff in Japan? You went to a clinic and got a scan out here. And she's like, oh, I'm trying to get to them, but they're far. She's like, well, they're not that far. You can call them and go pick up information that you need. And so then Chloe's like, oh, can I show you like a booking appointment confirmation? And Brianna's like, no, that just confirms you had an appointment. It doesn't have any details about it. She's like, what about a prescription bottle? Brianna's like, maybe I'll accept a prescription bottle. Chloe just kept bringing up the x-ray screenshot and being like, well, you posted my medical records, da 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 da. And Brianna's like, look, I'll take it down. Just prove that you have cancer. I'll give you a public apology. I'll give you a private apology. I'll do whatever you want, but just prove it to me. Brianna's like, look, I know being like, show me your medical records is kind of intense, but she was my bridesmaid. She was my friend of 7 years, and she's lied to me damn near about every single thing in her life. I need proof. Brianna highlights how she is absolutely stressed out. Her wedding is in 3 weeks. She's planning everything. Now that Chloe's no longer in the wedding, another bridesmaid actually dropped out of the wedding for a completely unrelated issue. And she's just freaking out. She's like, I have so much to do, so much to book. And she thinks that I am like even slightly concerned with what she's talking about. Like, leave me alone, go away. We all know the truth about you now. I just want to like not be so stressed out. She's like, I'm literally waking up crying and vomiting because I'm so stressed out. And when people were asking Brianna, like, why did you guys stay friends for so long? You guys even had a break at one point. She said that Chloe was basically playing to Brianna's traumas and being like, look, we have the same traumas. We've both been sexually assaulted. Like, we're both biracial, living in Japan. Like, you're the only one that understands me. They even had very similar mental illness diagnoses, which we don't know if it's true or not. But those points made Chloe feel like, oh, girl, you're the only one that understands me, that truly gets me. And so that caused them to stay close because it was almost like, honestly, a trauma bonding, right? And so now Brianna's over it. She just wants to focus on her wedding.
My name's Sydney. I worked as an ER nurse for about 10 years and I have seen some crazy stuff, but this one in particular still keeps me up at night. Because I don't want to violate any HIPAA laws, I am not going to be naming any patients in this story, and I cannot give you the exact location, but I can tell you it happened in the Appalachian Mountains. So we got a call from EMS, and the original call was for an elderly lady with altered mental status. But then a call came in right after that, and it was for her son that had a severe arm injury. So that's a pretty normal call to get for like an older person not acting right. They can have UTIs, they could, sometimes dementia, things like that can make them act different. But the fact that she was coming in with her son and her son had a severe arm injury, we were all like, what's going on? So she came in first. They brought her in on the stretcher and she was in handcuffs. This like 80-something tiny little woman in handcuffs. So of course we were like, get her out of these handcuffs. Like, she's going to rip her skin. Like, what is going on? And baby, as soon as those handcuffs came off, I understood why they put them on her. This frail 80-year-old woman had the strength of like a grown 40-year-old man. It took multiple nurses, multiple security officers, and paramedics to just hold her down on the stretcher. She was also contorting her body in ways that I never thought possible. Just like her spine, like coming up off the stretcher, her legs up by her head. Like, it was weird. She was thrashing all over the bed, biting, spitting, kicking. The scariest part is her voice was not like a normal, like 80-year-old woman voice. It was this deep, guttural, like voice. At one point she looks over at me and she goes, "Get this brute out of me." And as we're dealing with this, her son comes in behind her and his arm has a massive chunk bitten out of it. And I'm not trying to get too gory on you guys, but like I'm talking tendons, ligaments hanging out of his arm. So we got more information from the son and he was like, yeah, that's my mom. She lives with me, but this is not my mom. Like, she is normally a sweet little lady. And then she just came in my room in the middle of the night, bit down on my arm and ripped a huge chunk out of it and just continued to attack me. And he's like, I had no other option but to call the police. So we start doing all the things to get this lady to calm down so she wouldn't hurt us or hurt herself. I'm talking sedatives, IV injections, all the things. Nothing is touching her. We gave her enough medicine to put down like a horse and nothing touched it. We also ran all the tests that would cause her to act this way. Like we did a urine screen, we did like blood work, all the things. Everything came back completely normal. At one point, one of the nurses said, we need some holy water. As soon as holy water was mentioned, this lady, like I told you, she was thrashing all over the place, stopped thrashing and just looks up and goes, don't you dare. All of us nurses just kind of looked at each other like, well, that was weird. We ended up admitting her to a room upstairs. I obviously did not see this because I stayed down in the ER, but it was later told that nothing they did helped her. She just continued to act completely insane until the son was like, I want an exorcism done on her. They had to call in a priest to the hospital to do the exorcism, and shortly after that she went home. So believe what you want, but the fact that this lady's tests results all came back clear and the only thing that ended up helping her was an exorcism, I mean, I know what I believe and that's why I'm right with the Lord. But it's still just one of the wildest things that ever happened to me as a nurse. So now I'm interested, has anyone else ever had an encounter like this? If you have, leave it in the comments. And also, if you want more stories about some of the crazy things that I've seen as an ER nurse, I was also a psychiatric nurse for 3 years, then let me know.
I don't think I want to marry my girlfriend anymore. Do I break up? I, 28 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 28 female, for over 5 years now. We met each other senior year of college and have been together since. At first, our relationship was going pretty great. We generally match well together, but more introverted, have similar interests, and had good sexual chemistry. I admire her and respect her and love her. We've been through a lot together. COVID-19, deaths in the family, job and career struggles, family issues, and we still stuck together. But certain things are popping out more than before, and I'm beginning to want to leave rather than hold on to hope things will change. There was a time I wanted to marry her, but there are reasons I'm reconsidering. For instance, comparing our relationship to my friends and her friends. Comparison is a thief of joy, my friend. Don't do that. Our friends are either engaged or are living together in their own apartments. However, due to my girlfriend's circumstances at home, we are unable to do so. Her mother had a stroke and had the beginning stages of dementia before she started college, is bound to her bed, and my girlfriend is her primary caregiver. My girlfriend's father left and moved to a different state and can't help her. She stated that if we move in together, that her mother would be living with us in a spare room and we'd have to care for her. I feel horrible for saying this, but I just don't feel comfortable with that idea. Oh, bro, I'm not on your side anymore. No, I don't like you right now. Her family also just doesn't like me. My girlfriend's mom likes me. However, her sister has never liked me. Same with her aunts and some cousins. My girlfriend recently said it's because they are racist towards me because I am white. I don't want to marry into a family that completely prejudges me based on my race, and to possibly bring children into that. My girlfriend, and part of caring for her mother for so long, has sacrificed so much. Her career goals changed. She was never able to get a driver's license, so I have to drive her almost everywhere. We live about 45 to 50 minutes away from each other. Even though we went to college and we both walked at graduation, she never got her diploma, and it's been 5 years and she still doesn't have her degree. Therefore, she can't use it to get whatever job she's qualified for. She's working part-time jobs and using the money on food, her mom, and her house, and the rest I chip in. Again, I feel bad, but it all feels like so much of a burden. But then again, I can only imagine how she must feel. Whenever we call each other, it's always something negative or sad. We talk about our days, interests, what we want to do, etc. But for the past few years, she's been more anxious and depressed, and it's starting to really affect our relationship, which she acknowledges. And I understand it's not her fault, of course. Issues with her family not helping or supporting her, and her mom, her dad trying to help her from states away, other things. Because of work and our distance, it makes it difficult to be with one another a lot. Maybe seeing each other 1 to 2 times a week. My friends and family have noticed a change in my overall attitude, and I've mentioned maybe my girlfriend and I take a break. I've just been more unhappy and uncertain for the future, and I feel myself falling out of love. I can't help but wonder if it's better to move on. I guess the grass isn't always greener and all, but this grass just seems more yellow, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna read this comment that I like. It's pretty clear what happened. Your girlfriend went home to take care of her mother and honestly believed she was going to finish her degree, get her driver's license, and grow into independence as she found alternate care options for mom. And then the crippling burnout of being a caregiver to seriously disabled adult kicked in, and all of those routine things got further and further away. Now it's been 5 years and she's further down the hole than ever. It's easier to do the bare minimum, taking care of mom, than to take care of mom and take all of the actions required to get mom the long-term care she needs. It's tragic, but you can't form those plans for her and execute. She needs to decide what she needs to do and actually do it. I think it's time for a very difficult conversation. Tell her that if you are going to be with her, there needs to be a plan, a distinct series of achievements and steps to her independence. You can support her in her plan, but she has to decide what she wants and start to execute. And if she can't do this, then you'll have to end it.